The Irish word bunos cion, which is upside down.
And there's that myth, isn't there?
Yeah.
I mean, especially for senior managers or owners. How would your wife describe you? You weren't expecting that one.
Turn off the camera. I'm only joking, G.
Okay, Diarmuid Gavin, welcome to this podcast.
Thanks for having me, Bar.
Yeah.
Great to be here, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant. And just for our listeners, I suppose, why are we sitting down talking? Last year, you were in Power 7 for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I thought about that and I thought, I really want to mark this. And unfortunately, I didn't get to it before the end of the year, but I contacted you in January to say I'd like to mark this. And I thought that maybe a conversation recorded like this would be a good way to do it.
Yeah.
And and I suppose to kind of document your story, which I think hopefully be benefit to the people that you know and maybe even the people that you don't know and some Power 7 people and fans and whoever else. Okay.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to our chat. I hope I can bring something to the listeners and that they can find maybe a couple of little pointers and hopefully a laugh along the way as well.
Absolutely. Okay, so we'll dive in. Maybe I'll just sort of say for the listeners' benefit, you're the country manager of Théa Pharma, eye care company, French eye care company, and you're headquartered up in Castlebar.
Yeah.
And family-wise, Diarmuid?
Yeah, so married to Deirdre and 3 great kids. Luke is the eldest, Harry and Isabel. So they're in 26, 22 and 20.
Maybe we could start with your upbringing.
Yeah.
And I remember, you know, obviously I was thinking about this as I was driving in here, and most Power 7 groups, we did one of the first retreat we did was the Clarity Retreat.
Yeah.
And on that retreat, one of the first exercise is the Walk of Life.
Walk of Life, yes.
And the ask there is to kind of walk through your life up to now and highlight stories about people, places and experiences that helped to form you.
So the Walk of Life back in the day, I think we did in Athlone, Barry.
Did we?
Yeah.
We did. Now I remember it.
And you asked me to bring along symbols of early life, the early years. One of the symbols I brought along was my half-size violin.
Okay.
So I grew up in a house full of music. Dad was a great musician. He had a show band on the road back in the day. So grew up listening to saxophone, fiddle, accordion, and there was a band in the house as well with my other siblings, older siblings. I was the youngest of 7. So the band was called The Pleasant Sound. We used to call it something else.
Who came up with that name?
I think it was Dad. Dad came up with that name.
And you used to call it something else?
Yeah.
What did you call it?
We just put the in there, the unpleasant sound for because we were kids, but they were good. Growing up, Dad was a land steward. Mum worked in Castlebar as a nurse. She was an intensive care unit nurse. Dad, the land steward in Closhdora, Turvicagea. So always lots of work to do. So it was farming background. So we all went to boarding school as well. So all the boys went to St. Enda's in Closhdania, Bornathra in Galway. You know, we had Closhdora across the road, so Dad was working there. Our house
as well as farming.
As well as he had his own farm, but he was the land steward, so his work was farming. And when he started there was quite a few. There was 22 workers on the farm, and it was providing all the potatoes, all the carrots, all the milk, all the dairy for the college girls. It was a boarding school right across the road. Okay, not a boarding school anymore. It's a day school, as is St. Enda's, a day school. So Dad worked there. So I was probably the youngest and left, the last one in the house before everybody else was gone to boarding school. So those last number of years, I think myself and Dad got very close, and working on the farm. And the other symbol I brought to my Walk of Life was the key to the Massey Ferguson 135 to get to drive the tractor at the time. 10, 11, 12, bringing bales out to the field and feeding the cattle and feeding whatever other animals were around the farm. So I did a lot of that work, and he used to put a bale of hay on my back, and he'd say to me, "Go on now up that hill and don't give up, don't let it beat you." So Dad was a big part of forming probably my work ethic.
Right.
Remember being in the hayfield and in the wet summers, with the fork and spreading the hay, and he used to throw it up in the air, and he'd have a we'll give it one more twist. And we used to go, oh no,
we're another
back
hour's-
the field
hour's
again.
work.
Right? But there was always a great reward afterwards. He'd stop on the way home and he'd get you a Coke and a bar of chocolate. And there was great kind of family togetherness about all that.
Would all the boys be involved?
Yeah, everybody was involved. Everybody was involved. We were all there.
How many boys were in the family?
5 boys,
and
two girls. Yeah,
Okay.
So 2 girls.
Would they have a contribution?
Oh yeah. Everybody, all in. But now different age brackets at different times.
Yeah,
and their memories are probably different to my memories because I was the youngest. They all told me I was spoiled. I don't think I was at all.
You
But
were.
I probably was. Yeah, that was a lovely time. Mum used to work night duty in the intensive care unit in Castlebar. She was really well regarded at that level, and her nursing skills were very strong. She came actually from a family of 15 Mahars from Bal, so she went to London and did her nursing over there, came home, met Tommy. Tommy lived nearby, and then they settled in Tourmakeedy, which was a lovely place to grow up. We were very lucky.
So you mentioned your dad kind of influenced your work ethic. How would you say your mum influenced? Your mum lived to be 97, I believe.
Yeah,
last year was it?
Yeah, she was in her 97th year. Yeah, she died last September. God rest her. Left a real legacy of love. I think behind her. Yeah, she was always really good on the moral side of things and the moral compass, and always gave us the right advice, and always taught us to love others and to look out for people. And that was really good. And Dad then had the music and the work and fun.
The fun.
And the fun. And
she was kind of more on the emotional side.
Yeah.
Wow.
She was,
Nice,
and she was a great listener, and she used to chat away at night time, and she was always there, to have that chat.
Any other key influences, like within the family or outside the family?
Yeah, I think within my family, my brothers, every one of them had a different influence on me at different stages. Probably my brother Adrian.
What number is he?
He's number 2 in the family. But I would be very close to Adrian because he lives in Castlebar. Also Paul and Tom and Joe, like all of them.
Get them all in there.
Yeah. But
you fight after this.
I suppose, with Paul, I suppose I was close to Paul, and he was a good advisor, like along my journey of what's to do next. Because sometimes, particularly in the early days, it was hard to know,
of course,
what I was going to do, what I was going to, what was my preference for work or career, or where I was going to end up. I really hadn't a clue, So,
and would you say you were ambitious as a young fella, like in your teenage years? Like, was there a motto about where you're going to get to, or anything like that?
I was always kind of a small little entrepreneur at some level. I remember having my little bicycle repair shop when I was probably 11 or something like that. And I remember saving up as well at that time, saving up all the pounds to send over to the United States for a Panasonic Villager 3 little racing bike, which was unheard of at the time, but I knew which one I wanted because I got the brochures from my cousin, and she brought it home for me, and it came in a big box, and it was a full-size racer, and I had that until I was 22. And unfortunately got stolen in Dublin, but they're collector's items now if you can get one.
Yeah, whoever has that stole well.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
But you did it. You had a bit of a repair shop going.
Yeah, a little bit of a repair shop.
Charge people?
Oh yeah. £2, £3. A couple of bikes from the local lads. I did a few of those. But through my teenage years, I used to do a lot of work in other farms locally, driving the tractor, bringing in the bales of hay, and I was always probably looking for the next bit of dosh to come in, and whatever it was. Yeah, there was always something to be done, and if you put yourself out there, you hopefully got the call.
It was kind of the mehel, but you charged the book.
Yeah, you got the money. Yeah. So that was really it. And then after my leaving cert, Paul told me, he says, you know what? He says, take a year out. Don't don't decide to do anything. There was 1 or 2 courses in college, and I took the year out. So that was kind of the start of it. And I ended up working in the University Hospital in Galway as a ward attendant on night duty. And started, got a room in a house, and basically started working at night time. And mum being a nurse, and my 2 sisters were also nurses. So there was a lot of nursing in the house, and took to that. Seemed to enjoy it. I liked it. And then I started applying for nursing roles. So I remember working on night duty in Galway and heading off the next morning to Hitch to Dublin to do the interview, and then come back that night again. So I had a little sleep in the last car on the way down, and in again on night duty. But I got the job in Dublin then, so I got my start as a psychiatric nurse in St. Edith's in Portrane, which is in North County Dublin, just north of Donabate. And
what was the thinking there, Diarmuid? Like in terms of, if you go back to the entrepreneurial side of you, and was it like, what was your motivation for getting into that?
The U2 song. I still haven't found what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
I didn't know what I was looking for.
Right.
I didn't even know where to start looking.
Yeah.
So this happened.
Okay.
And at the time, get a job.
Yeah.
Just get started. Get your course under your belt. I probably, looking back and knowing myself now, if I was to do it again, I'd steer towards business earlier, because I've enjoyed that side of it. But then I often think, without the experience of all the different areas, that maybe you wouldn't have managed to get to where I am now. So it wouldn't have all culminated in having the knowledge that you need. So probably going back to that date, and I was 18, 19, and I was saying, okay, what do I do? Do I wait another year for the next year's intake and go to college and do business or do whatever? I actually started to like what I was doing in the nursing. I really did. I liked looking out for people. I liked the patient care, and then talked to my sisters about it, to Dal in particular, and they said, look, this is what you'll be at. This is what it's like, and so I said, okay, let's go. Let's try it. And
so you did that for what, a year?
No, I started in St. Edith's. I did about a year in Galway, and then up to St. Edith's. Fairly large institution. It's a big red brick building, and at that time there was 2 sides to when you walked in the corridor, and you turned left for the male side of the building, and you turned right for the female side of the building. Right. So we were the first nurses to actually work on both sides. So it was it had been segregated up to that date in 86. So started there as a psyche nurse, and then the training there was a 4-year training course. So started on that.
Is it like an apprenticeship type of a thing? Or?
No, at the time you were paid.
Yeah.
Okay, you were paid. I think it was something like £100 a week, and
was that much?
It was enough.
Bad.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I think it was £112 you got.
Yeah.
It was enough to. And you had the nursing home. We lived in the nursing home.
Okay.
And you lived in the nursing home, and then you had training, which we called going to block. Okay, so you had
block release.
Release. So you were doing 2 weeks training, then you were on the different wards, then 2 weeks training, different wards, and then you did rotation in the general hospital. So I worked in Beaumont Hospital for a while then as well, and you got to see surgical, you got to see all the different divisions. So the first year you did an exam at first year, and then there was 2 to 3 more years to follow up after that to become fully qualified as a psychiatric nurse. So we then kind of transitioned into St. Brendan's as well. So we went to block there. They kind of centralized the school. During that time, I suppose, I met Deirdre. She was out doing her rotation in psychiatry.
Okay.
And I met her in a community setting, actually, in Raheny in North Dublin. After that, then, I had kind of qualified at the end of the training, and decided I was on night duty one night. Donald O'Sullivan was his name. He was a staff nurse. And there was an advert on the paper. and it was Aer Lingus cabin crew recruiting. And Donny gave me a bit of advice. He said, look, at what age are you? And I told him, I said, I'm 21. And he said, if I was you now, I would go for that job and you know, get out of here, move into a job where you're going to see the world. And the interviews were the next day. And I left, went to Malahide after night duty, ended up in a group interview setting for Aer Lingus. And at the time, Aer Lingus was very much sought after. You know, it was a hard job to get into. So sat in the group setting, and this is where the psychiatric training came in very helpful, because we used to do a lot of group work. Started to get through those interviews and managed to get the job. So I qualified, and my last day in psychiatry was on a Friday, and on the Monday I walked into Aer Lingus and I was transatlantic cabin crew. And
what was your thinking about like making that change? Like, was there a motivation there, or did it just happen?
The one thing I knew after the 4 years in psychiatry is that I enjoyed the work. I enjoyed the work with the patients, but I knew it wasn't for me any longer. You know, that I need to move on and do something else. What the itch was at that time, it was to see the world. You know, to get out and about and see a bit more, and it was about travel. The attraction to Aer Lingus was, you know, you get free flights. You're 21, 22 years old. You get to go to New York. You get to see the world. Yeah, I want that. And so anyway, ended up, you know, getting on the airplane to, remember the first trip on a Boeing 747, 465 seats, 13 toilets. I'll remember it all,
And you've had much training at this
point?
Lots
of training. We had lots of training, Then the training in Aer Lingus was second to none. They were really good. And the one thing, you know, that I look at when I think about Aer Lingus is the people. To be, you know, part of the Aer Lingus crew was, when you walk through the airports in Chicago or New York, you were in Aer Lingus, you know, people kind of went, the Aer Lingus team, you know that. And you could feel that. Flying was kind of...
It was different then, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was very different. It was nearly a romantic kind of, you know, adventure. Flying was the thing, but now it's changed quite a lot. But I remember walking through the gates of O'Hare just after arriving in my first flight to Chicago. You know, you were treated like royalty wherever you went, which was really, really nice. But it also opened up the world. Opened up the world for me. As part of my role in Aer Lingus, you know, I was kind of the nurse on call within the flights.
The crew that came in handy.
It came in handy, and it was quite busy at times. A lot of things going on. A lot of things going on. A lot of people with cardiac issues. A lot of different issues. So it was quite busy. Calling for doctors on board sometimes, and long haul flights. You don't know. You don't know what's going to happen. So you know, and at the time, this will tell you how long ago it was. The last 10 seats on a 747 were dedicated to smoking. Anyway, with Aer Lingus, got to see the world, got to go to New York once a week. And in the meantime, Aer Lingus had kind of over-recruited. They had hired too many people. So they approached us all and said, would anybody like to take some voluntary unpaid leave? And you'll keep all your concessions. You will have extra free flights every year. And if you take it now, you'll remain on our books. So I took 4 years off from Aer Lingus, which was great at the time, because I still had the tickets to the world. You know, we could fly down to Barbados or fly over to Florida and all those places pretty cheaply. Free flight to New York, and then grab a flight down. So that was a great ticket to have. You know,
where were you with Deirdre?
Dee and myself were an item. We were
not married yet. Though.
Not married. We were living together.
So were you starting to think long term with?
We were heading down that way. You know, and
we
were living together in a house in Drumcondra. My brother Tom came home from the States, and he moved in with us, and you know, he'd done some flooring work over in the States. He'd been to college and all that, but he loved working with his hands and flooring. So he started this flooring business called Ability Floors. Ability Floors, and we got, he's got the first few jobs, and one particular job in Raheny I'll always remember was a little green Fiat Uno, I think it was, and a little van, and we'd fill it up with whatever we could. I actually used my Aer Lingus concessions to fly over to New York for a weekend and pick up all the necessary tools. So I picked up all the tools in New York, brought them home, got a couple of things that you couldn't get in Ireland.
Okay.
And Tom knew where to send me and what to get. So got all those. So we filled up a suitcase. But I got a day skiing in over there as well at the same time, in Pennsylvania. In the meantime, I started doing agency nursing as well. And I used to get a call from Mrs. Shanahan's agency at the time, and I'd go to different hospitals all over Dublin. So I was cycling around in my old Panasonic Villager 3.
You had it at that stage?
I had it at that stage, yeah, still with me. And then, I remember one of those shifts used to be out in Selbridge in St. Raphael's, and the cycle from Drumcondra was 25 kilometres, and I used to cycle that out at night time, work night time, and then cycle my way back in. And often I used to do 13, 14 nights in a row doing that. And I know
a lot to thank your dad for.
There was a lot of that. And I was trying to save up as well and whatnot.
You were motivated.
Yeah, motivated to do that. And I started to look after this elderly gentleman in his home. And that kind of went my way as I started to kind of run it then for a while. And that was...
As an agency nurse, but you were kind of bringing in other agency nurses, like a team, is it?
Like a team into it, yeah. They were, some of them were already there, but I was just doing all the rosters and all of that. And I went to Mrs. Shanahan and I put it to Mrs. Shanahan, who was the original, owner of the case, say, listen, if I look after this for you, from here on in, how will things go? And she said, well, we'll give you till Christmas. So then we didn't have to pay over the agency fees after that. So, and it was taking a case off her workload, and she was happy that it was being well looked after. So it was a quid pro quo, worked both our ways. So then spent probably, up to 5 or 6 years there, looking after the elderly gentleman and henceforth his wife.
He was a wealthy retired businessman.
Yeah, he was a wealthy ritired businessman. Yeah. So we did that, and but it was nice to be able to bring, a nice atmosphere and care to his final years, and to work with the team there. There was a little team in the house, so everything worked really, really well. But probably at that time I was doing the floors, also doing the nursing then, so the two things were going together. I remember Tom calling me while I was down in St.
Tom Murphy.
No, Tom, my
your
brother.
Sorry, yeah.
And we left Dublin after I spent the night on night duty, and he picked me up in the morning, and we drove to Cork, and we did the Metropole Hotel during the day.
As you do,
yeah. And then he did a house in the evening time as well, and then stayed over with my sister that night. So I was tired that night. But we used to do bars at night time as well. A lot of the bars, when they close up, we'd go in, sand the floors, seal the floors, and have it ready again for the morning. So we did a lot of those at that time. So then through those years, I suppose, I was kind of had 2 to 3 things going on. I used to also fly down to Florida because of the cheap flights, and I started to do my private pilot's license with the ambition of becoming a commercial pilot. But then I started to run into a little bit of bother with my ears. My ears weren't equalizing, that pain that you get. And so I got a lot of tests done, and then I got grounded for 6 months. So made me think, and flying was not going to be for me. And so the Aer Lingus doctors at the time said, no, you've just got a small eustachian tube, it can happen, you need to stay on the ground for a little while, so maybe think about ground ops or something like that. So my private pilot's license went out the window. I decided not to chase that anymore. I had been up and down to Florida probably about 4 or 5 times, putting up the hours because it was cheaper to learn down there, and there was easier access. So then after that,
how did you keep the nursing job? Was that you kept that going?
Yeah, I kept that going. Yeah,
while you were
right up to that. Yeah, so just rostering, and I used to roster myself. For weekends and whatever I could do, and
you had the team at this stage, so you'd get them in.
Yeah, they were all there, and the guys were all there. And then after that, then I kind of basically said, I have three things going on here, but not one of them is going to be, a consistent earner, and it's going to give me the
career,
career that I wanted. Yeah. And probably through discussions with Deirdre and some of her friends and my brothers and all of that, I decided I better start looking at something different. So I ended up, the pharmaceutical sector was an obvious choice, where, my nursing background would serve from a medical point of view. Then my customer service background would serve from a sales point of view. So the obvious choice would be, to become a medical representative with two of those together. So went out to Corrig Avenue in Dunleary. SmithKline Beecham was the name of the company, and did my interviews. A lot of tough questions, and I was touch and go, I would say, to whether I was going to make it or not. Because a lot of times, a lot of the other candidates had a huge science background and lots of microbiology, lots of things like that. Okay. So, which I didn't have, even though I had the nursing background. But they took a chance, so joined SmithKline Beecham, and that was a ticket to the west of Ireland as well, because the territory was in the west of Ireland. And myself and Deirdre were, thinking, okay, where are we going to settle? Yeah. Where are we going to do the necessary, with the children and bringing them up and all of that. So that was the ticket west. And we had just purchased our house in Dublin. Okay. We were, married in 94. So here we were, married with a house in Dublin, and with a new job down the west of Ireland. Nice. Good plan. Good plan. Yeah, good plan. So we started. I started as a rep in leaving Tourmakeedy one morning and visiting the doctors in the Mayo area. It was a unique experience, to be honest, because you're just given the keys of the car, a boot full of products and samples. Training, obviously, and you're given a kind of a sense of what it might look like from a journey and a business perspective, but you have to make sense of it yourself. So I remember spending all day Saturday in the library in Castlebar, looking up all of the stats of the population of all the towns, looking up all of the GMS lists and how many patients were under each list, under each doctor, and then putting a scrapbook together, which was like my strategy for the west of Ireland. But I was trying to make sense of it, and I color coordinated the whole thing, and I was trying to figure out, why is one area more important than the other? Why is one customer more important than the other? And where should I spend my time? And how do I plan myself around that?
And as a matter of interest, would your colleagues in other territories been thinking and acting in the same way?
I'm sure they were, but I got some level of territory handover. But I think bringing the population things into it and all of that, I think that was something that
unique.
A bit unique. So I brought I had my scrapbook with me, and got noticed, and that kind of got them thinking a little bit about me. So 9 months went by, and there was 2 sales manager roles at that time, and I didn't go for them. I decided not to go for them. That I was too wet behind the ears. I was just a kid starting out in this industry, and I needed to put in the
yards,
do the yards, and get to know it better. And and even in that 9 months, our territories had changed around, our products had changed around, so there was no level of consistency. Right. In your repeat, getting back to see the same customer. So I was still feeling your way into it, really, after 9 months. But then I got a phone call, and I got the phone call, and I was actually on my way to Dublin to sign the papers to sell my house. Right. Okay. And I remember she said, "Don't sell your house. You'll need it." Okay. And I did. I sold the house because
Who said you'll need it? Somebody in work?
The managing director of the business. Yeah, she rang me up. She said, "Don't sell your house, you'll need it." And I was on my way that evening to sign the papers.
Yeah. And you didn't know what was ahead?
Yeah, I didn't know what was ahead. And, looking back on that, because the house values absolutely went through the roof, as you know, but I still went ahead and signed the papers. And the reason being, I think I wanted I didn't want any way back.
Right.
I wanted to live in the West.
You wanted to cut the...
I wanted to cut the cord, and I think if the house was there, I'd always be. So I said, no, I'm gonna sign it, and I'm gonna make that permanent decision to be in the West.
In the West,
in the West. Yeah. So I presented the next morning, and they were very fair and very open and very, and they told me what was good about it and what was not good about it. And then they offered me a sales manager's job. So they were taking a punt, I think, on me again. And so I took the role, and genuinely, I think at the start, completely out of my depth,
right?
But I did have some, I suppose, of deeper skills around the people and around getting people to do things for me.
Where would you say that it came from?
I think that came from psychiatry.
Okay, I'm curious as to what you took out of these different chapters. Like psychiatry and even cabin crew as well, and even flooring.
Yeah. So in the psychiatry, I think you got to get to grow a great pair of antennae, right? And they basically allowed you to see and feel what was happening, even when people may not be telling you the whole thing, particularly when you're trying to find what's the issue and whatnot. So I think you get a deeper sense, and your questioning and listening are quite well finely tuned, I would say, and that you're trying to understand, what's being said, but what's not being said. You're listening at a deeper level, I think. And then you also learn, because at times it can be very hard in psychiatry. Sometimes you're learning to listen without really taking it all in, because it can be a bit of a burden, because of the nature of some of the illnesses and whatnot. So I think in there, I learned to hear and to see what's going on underneath the hood.
Reading the situation, reading people.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then with Aer Lingus, your customer service element, and how to work, with tricky, irate passengers, who are coming at you with problems, and not happy. So you get to be able to deal with that, and to be able to, how to react and when to react and what's acceptable and what's not, because you do have to draw a line. You have to say that's acceptable, that's not acceptable, and you have to be clear about that in a nice, sometimes firm, but without ever being
polite.
And polite. So it kind of naturally brought me towards coaching. I just found that I was good at coaching and
because I'm thinking that wouldn't been a buzzword at the time. Would you have used that word, or would you?
We did, we were there. We were there. And you asked me earlier about people that influence you and form you. There was a chap in Smithline, and his name was Brian O'Driscoll, not the rugby player.
Right.
He was our trainer at the time, and Brian was he was a great guy. He was just a really nice man, very genuinely interested in the people and how they were evolving, and so helpful. So we, ended up at that time probably looking at Stephen Covey, and the 7 Habits,
right?
And he came to Castlebar, actually.
I was there. Actually.
Were you at that?
I never told you that. I was there. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was great.
It was brilliant.
It was great. It was great. And Brian had already given us the course before that. So Brian was a trainer, and he brought us through that
7 Habits.
7 Habits trainer, and many other courses.
Okay.
So we had the benefit of all of that right firsthand in the office. And then probably, from there was at the time, Smithline developed a European Sales Managers College.
Wow.
Yeah. Which was unheard of, really, And one of the first things that we got to do at college, we got to develop our own coaching model. And so...
Your own individual or your
own? Our own individual coaching model, which was great for me because I had all of the psychiatry and all the different models that you learn there in terms of, the listening and all of that. So I brought that to bear on that. So I still have it and I still use it, and I've gifted it to some who wanted to know about it. And it's a simple model, it's called, two sides to it, like it's the voyage of discovery. And I have some guiding principles around that, which are, the presenting problem is usually not the core issue. And then you have your environment where you set up the right environment so that people are at ease and no interruptions, and that it's the right time and the right place and the right tone, the right feel for it all. And then along that, it's all about the types of questions that you ask, and about your listening, and the three levels. You're listening with your head, your heart, and your hands. What's been said? What's their intentions like? And then what's their body language telling you? And then you have to recognize your symptoms as you start to peel the onion and go in the voyage and try to find the core. And if you can find the core, then you identify that and you agree on it and cross over. Once you cross over, then you're into New Horizons. And New Horizons is broken into 3 or 4 different areas. What have you done already?
Yeah.
What more can you do?
Yeah.
And how can I help you?
Right.
Okay. And what else do you think is left out?
Did you kind of put that together yourself?
I put that
those
together.
Names on it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
I did, yeah.
Nice.
Nice run
you
to
own it then, don't you?
Yeah.
Like because you know that.
Off by heart,
inside out.
Of course, everybody had their own way of looking at it.
Yeah, I love it.
So, but that was a gift, really, from the company, and it was a great gift and so well orchestrated. And they brought all of the sales managers to Ireland, and they delivered this workshops on all of these things. So I was part of that team at the time with Brian back in those days as a young sales manager. You needed that because you were coming across, you're managing people that were in the industry 30 years.
And you needed to be competent and get respect.
Yeah.
And be professional as well.
Oh, absolutely. And you needed to get the best out of them as well. You need to make sure that the performance was there, and you needed to keep the relationships going. And it's all about the relationships because, if you've guys that are not feeling it, their motivations are down, you gotta work with them, and you got to develop all these little ways of working with your people, and hopefully they're the things that kind of help me motivate others, and I always wanted people to enjoy working with me, do an honest day's work and get well paid for it.
So how many years and with
SmithKline? Yeah, so there was 98 to 2000. It was just 2 years, but there was a lot.
Okay, you got a lot in it. Because, I know it sounds like that was quite impactful on your professional career.
Yeah.
Maybe you've already said this, but what would you say were the top 3 things you took from your experience with SmithKline? In terms of, like along the lines of what you've been talking about. What would you say are the top 3 things you took from it?
Yeah, so I would say number 1 would be the coaching aspect of sales management. Okay. Number 2 would be the strategic business analysis side. Okay. Where to go. Okay. That was core to, if you can figure out where the potential is, who you're like, not all customers are equal. There's someone who's your top one. Okay. And then probably, I think for myself is to rely on the skills.
And it was giving you something that was going to serve you for the future.
Yeah. And it gave me a hunger.
Yeah,
I think it just gave me a hunger to think, okay, what am I missing? Like, what else could I know? And I think, they had a great culture of learning, and it was internalized as well, like the European Sales Management College within the organization was really strong. Like, it was a really good thing to have because those sales managers were coaching the people who are first line out there talking to our customers. So if you get that right, I think that was important.
Can I just throw something at you?
Yeah.
That, I think people think that, pharma make a lot of money, so therefore they have a lot of money to spend on this type of thing.
Yeah.
Do you think it is the principal reason why they had what you've just talked about? or was there other reasons why they educated their people like that to train them, and all those skills? Because I think there's that.
Yeah.
Is there that? Am I right? Is there that view out there that thinks, that's that's okay for pharma because look at their profit margins, all of that, and they can put money into people like Brian O'Driscoll and other people. Is that?
That's perception. That's they say big pharma and all of that. But however, behind the scenes, there's so much work that goes on in research to find new medicines that'll help us live longer or live without a disease, to challenge, and all that research costs an awful lot of money. And a product is brought to market, but it's based upon how much research is taken. There's so much it's like the iceberg. Everything underneath, there's so much investment, and then you get a window of opportunity to try to bring some of that money back so that you can start the next piece of innovation and research. So, pharma is it's a place for me where, we're always looking for solutions for people's health so people can feel better, and so that we can help our, in my case, help the elderly see longer, have longer lifespans, and it's there to help people. I suppose when I hear that comment, I can understand that, because you can see, the stock exchange, you can see all of those things. However, say with a company like ours, which is privately owned, like we reinvest all the money back into research, into innovation, into, developing the next part. And some of those, it's never come to fruition. They fail at clinical trials, phase 1, phase 2, and that phase 2 can cost millions and millions to get to there. But then the results aren't there. At least they know, so they have to go back and start again. So and they're there looking for that, for the next innovation, the next thing that'll.
So am I hearing then? Yeah, look, there is money, but there's smarts as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do they think long term? They reinvest, they know that investment in year education and training is going to pay dividends.
Yes.
So it's smart to do that type of thing.
Yeah. So, as an industry, like, what do we do? Well, we speak to customers, and our customers are, consultant ophthalmologists, they're consultant radiologists, and they've had years and years and years of training to do what they do. And so when we meet them, we, from the pharma sector, we need to know our stuff. We need to make sure also that, everything that we're saying is bona fides, that it's backed by clinical trials that we can stand over. But also, most importantly, we're a great source of knowledge. We would bring speakers from all over the world to Ireland to speak to our doctors, speak to our customers, and, keep them up to date and au fait with what the new studies are showing, what case studies from all over the world that they can then say, okay, this could help Mary. This is a case study I've seen. Right. This is a treatment pathway we could take with this particular lady. So we bring and we invest in all of that so that, our doctors, when we get there, that they are informed as best we can, and they get their CPD points for keeping up to speed, and that's important. So there is a huge investment in education. Huge investment,
and that's a big part of the
a big part,
isn't it?
Huge part.
It's part of your strategy, and in Ireland, as you've been doing for the last 5 or 6 years. So maybe we can push forward.
Sure.
I know through your involvement with the tennis club in Castlebar, which you've done some great work on. You got to know a certain Mr. Tom Murphy.
Oh, yeah.
Would that be where you, after the 2 years in SmithKline, was that where you went next? So GSK came from SmithKline. That was a merger. Glaxo merged, and I had moved down to the West in '98, so started in the tennis club, playing a bit of tennis. Then got the wiggly finger. Will you come in here? And I think I was a PRO, a very bad PRO actually that year, and then captain. And then chairman,
So that was kind of the journey over those number of years. So I got to meet Tom Murphy.
So again, for our listeners, Tom is owner of Pamex.
Yeah, owner and founder of Pamex.
What else? Tom has developed the de facto, which used to be called
Total Shaving Solution.
Which you might have seen on the Late Late Show.
You might have seen.
And he wrote a book then.
He wrote a book. Yeah.
Great character, Tom.
Yeah, great character.
Great professional.
And a good friend of mine.
Good friend.
And a good friend. Yeah. So Tom and myself, we were, in the tennis club at the time, so didn't really know each other that well. But then he was there's an organization called the Pharmaceutical Managers Institute, and he was a founding member of that as well. I think it came to fruition one evening in Still, Oregon, in one of the hotels when they were all staying overnight. We need to do something, guys. Which is a thriving organization now. Yeah, provides great networking, great educational opportunities, and that came to fruition from back in the, I suppose, early 90s, I would say. Anyway, so Tom gave me the call, and I went to Dublin, and I basically said, I'm leaving GSK now. It's tricky. So I spoke to my boss at the time, and he was a really good guy. He said, look, the only job coming up is my job, and he says, and I'm not going anywhere.
Okay.
Yeah, and God rest him, Joe Kavanagh was his name. He was a lovely man. And
was this before the chat with Tom?
Yeah,
or
this
after?
was after the chat with Tom.
Okay.
Yeah,
so this was basically, closing it off.
Closing it off.
Yeah.
So, and I went to Joe, and Joe said, listen, I'm not going anywhere, Diarmuid. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
And I told him about the job, and he said, I'm supposed to convince you to stay, but ultimately he says, that sounds great. Yeah. And so anyway, off I went, and went down to Mayo then, and I was living down there anyway. But
where were you now, Diarmuid, with family at this stage?
Yeah, so we were. Let me see. So I was 2006. So we were. Luke was born in 2000, Harry in 2004 or 5, and Izzy was on the way. So we had just built a house in Castlebar.
Where you live now?
Yeah, where we live now. So we just finished the house. So
family well established at this stage.
Yeah, well established, and we were going good guns.
And obviously that was a factor then also about
being close.
Being close, but also financing family into the future.
Yeah,
college.
Yeah. So there was
kind of thing,
there was a lot of that, going on, and so the move from GSK, like GSK, the bigger companies, like they have lots of conditions that are attractive for long term, like pension plans, etc., etc. So there was a little bit of a kind of a wonder, will I or should I? But I did, and I suppose from all of the other things that I've done, I was starting to develop my own little, toolbox of thought.
Yeah.
And that toolbox, I think at the time when I joined Pamex, I started to talk. I went around and talked to everybody about what's it like around here. And one of the words that came back at the time was overwhelming.
Okay.
There's too much to do.
Okay.
So I came up with the idea of brave and wise. We need to be brave enough to walk by and wise enough to know it's the right decision.
Okay.
Because we can't do everything. Only you can decide, because it's you in the car, it's you at the desk. There are things that need to be done. However, there are other things that maybe are less of a priority, and that you're, so push them down or push them away. So what do you stop?
Yeah.
A big part was getting some of the systems up and running. It was still a young business.
Yeah.
And
so there's a real skill in doing that.
Yeah, there was. Yeah. And we had kind of a product selection process. Yeah. And Tom has a very good nose for finding the right products. He'd be well thought in terms of, where the potential is, where we can find the opportunity in this, and he was very good to see the opportunity. And then working together, we talked.
I can see how you complemented each
other. Yeah. And then I'd be getting the team moving, getting their priorities right, getting them focusing in on the right messages, doing all of that, and also sales training. I did all of that stuff. And that seemed to get us going, get us moving. And it was a tough time in Ireland, because it's just 2007, 2008, 2009, we all know what happened. Major recession, and we were just really starting out. So we had to come through those. There were some months that were lean, and we were worried. Big thing was we just rolled up our sleeves, and no job too big, no job too small. We all got out there, spent days selling, just keeping the numbers coming in and working with the team at that time. And, and then we started to come out the far side, and we got some new products, new accounts. So they were great. They brought the business along to another level at that time.
So do you remember being approached about that, Diarmuid? Then
I do.
What was the kind of context for?
Ultimately, that it might be really worthwhile for the business. You get to meet your peers, and you get to toss the ball around, and then I talked to yourself. And, I remember that conversation.
Where was that, Diarmuid?
I was on the phone, phone, yeah. And I was in Dublin, and I was chasing an account there. And I remember chatting to you, and I was looking out over the edge there, looking down at the escalators, and chatting away to you. And I remember you're kind of saying to me, like, it's more than that. And I think you were qualifying me as to my suitability to wherever. And I remember that conversation, and you left me thinking, which was good, and I was really intrigued. I really wanted to know more. I think I was kind of, you had to go back to the group then and say, listen, I have someone that might be interested in joining us. Would you be interested? And I think they gave you the green light, and then I walked in, and it was a new group at the time. But it was the second meeting when I arrived.
Right.
When I arrived. So that was it. And to be honest, walking into the room the first day, I didn't know what to expect. We're going to sit here today. We're going to learn about something. It's going
classroom.
It's going to be a classroom of business, and we're going to talk. And everybody's going to have an opinion, and it's all going to be about business. That's what I thought.
Okay.
And
And what was it?
It was far from that. It was very much, the group were just forming at the time, and it was very much around, the process that we have, which was more into, me, how I'm doing, and then into the family, how my family are doing, and then into the business and how the business is doing. And I've been thinking about those three in a line, and I think when I arrived that morning, I think the Irish word would be bunos cion, which is upside down, right? I had it bunos cion. It's
you were prioritizing the work and then the family and then self.
Yeah. So I think self particularly came last, at that time. What a young household is like, and I have to mention my wife, Deirdre here. Like, she was immense, in terms of the load that she carried for the children, and all of the different things, between all the different school days and all the different appointments and all the different dental things and all the way along. They carried so much, and which allowed me to keep going doing. And we that was our plan. That was part of our plan. I'll plow on doing this, and then, but I suppose, that day, kind of listening to others, I was kind of going, okay. And my comments were very much around business, because, you're just after coming from the business world, and you're into this, and you're saying, well, and I remember that, and I look back and I kind of laugh at that now, because I've seen so many me's coming in the door in the meantime.
Yes, that's right.
And they're a little bit bunos cion when they arrive, and
there's that myth, isn't there? I mean, which is like, especially for senior managers or owners, that, if I can just get the business sorted out, then I can enjoy the family and maybe myself in the retirement. But we know from being in Power 7 that it just doesn't work that way. And actually, go back to, we were talking about smart people earlier on. The smart people actually pay attention to all three. Isn't that right? And that's the kind of philosophy, isn't it? That if you pay attention to all three and you get harmony between them, then, because they're so inextricably linked, then, they're all going to move further forward in a more healthier way than if I get this right. So just, you mentioned Deirdre there, and you talked about the kids earlier on, and I'm just curious about your learning from all that you've told me in the different chapters, areas that you worked, and then you're learning from insights. I'd call them insights from Power 7. That's what we tend to get, isn't it? Insights.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
How would you say they've influenced the Gavin household, and particularly in terms of partner Deirdre and kids, 3 kids?
Well, I think the big word I would say is, the kitchen table. Since I started in the Power 7, we put such an influence on eating together, spending time together, listening, the right questions, explaining. I've explained to them, my clarity retreat, what I found for myself, all the other retreats that I've been on.
Yeah, you're very good at that. You do share that with them, don't you? Yeah,
and that kind of shows them, where I'm focused and what's important. I think the subtlety of one-to-one time and, planning that, which can maybe not happen, planning.
You're too busy.
You're too busy, yeah. Planning those nights away, the evening in the cinema.
Yeah. Date nights, as we call them. Yeah.
Date nights, yeah. The word adventure, I discovered as part of me, because I'm adventurous, that can translate into many things. Yeah. It can translate into many things.
As your family know well.
Yeah. And, so there's always time for adventure, and an adventure can happen at 6:00 on a sunny evening, and you head off and just do something that wasn't planned, and just go and do, and try to find the adventure in life. And it can be many places, it can be even at home, just doing something that's a little bit different.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be. In the sunshine in some continent far away. Yeah.
No, it doesn't. It can be
on your doorstep,
right there, right beside you all the time. And I think it becomes the kind of a state of mind as well. I think the rhythm in the house is good. I like the way we aim to congregate together at dinner time, and we're lucky. Deirdre's a great cook. She's a fantastic cook. So the people want to eat that. So that does help. It does help. And but there's a kind of it's kind of nearly an unsaid rule that we always aim to eat together, chat together. And probably along my journey of the last 10 years, I've learned a lot about myself in terms of how those interactions might happen. Probably the pontification part, to say, now watch out for this or whatever. That's I've pulled away from that a lot, and I think a better question offers a better rounded, two-sided conversation rather than because and I struggle. I still struggle. I still struggle.
Progress,
it's work in progress,
and everything, and things are changing all the time.
They're
growing up. You're growing up.
And I think the eras of particularly when they go into teenage years, into later teenage years, into early adulthood, and then into probably adulthood. There's different phases, of all of that, and probably the learnings around spending time, listening, making sure you're listening the right way, finding what's important to them, being supportive by just being there and not saying anything. You don't always have to have the answers. You just need to listen. And I've improved that, but still a bit of work in progress, as you say. And then also for your marriage relationship and things like that, it's one that you have to put the work in.
You do.
You have to put the work in, and you need to set up those one-to-ones. And how really the Power 7 has really helped me with myself and Dee. We've done events together. We've had things that we'll say we'll plan this, and that comes from our yearly planning and setting the priorities. What I've learned there is probably the early days, I went to bite off too much, and they weren't really realistic. That's smart objectives. They weren't. It was too much. I've learned to think in small steps, and don't be too hard on yourself. We tend to be a little bit kind of that little voice is saying you failed or whatever. I don't do that anymore. Start again tomorrow, and it's okay to fall off every now and again, and work on it. And I think the other little thing that I've kind of is self-revelation, which is one of stating where you're weak, or where things aren't as well as you'd
or
hope.
If you're wrong.
If I'm wrong, stating I was wrong, and that can be good, because
shows vulnerability.
But also in the self-revelation part, once you start to tell people this is what I'm aiming to do, they're holding you accountable.
That's it.
And that's works for me at work as well. I've told the guys that as well.
I was just wondering that as you were talking, do you find that those developments at home feed back into the work and vice versa? Like, is there that dynamic between learning from work? Because you've mentioned about your kind of mindset towards parenting, and part of it is the coaching mentality, which you kind of touched on there. Which you kind of learned in work. So you kind of bring that home. And then, of course, they're the most difficult people to coach, because they're going to show you the mirror. Aren't they?
Absolutely.
So, would there be learnings from that would, inform your professional job?
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose, at home, they'll tell you. Okay. They'll tell you. It'll come hot and heavy every now and again, which is fine. At work, they may not.
Especially when you're the boss.
When you're the boss, right? So what you have to do is you have to, I suppose, create the environment and allow place of, that you're not always right. So I try to create that as best I can, and it can be tricky. It can be tricky to do that, and I know that some people may not say what they really want to say, but I try to have it as open as we can, and I do that with different tools. Different tools that we use, and different opportunities, different meetings, different workshops, different places, brought them to the beach, tell me about this, different things.
And you're great for freshening it up. Like, it's never boring in Théa,
Pharma,
and you have these themes, that you run throughout the year and so on. But just before we go to that, just to go back to the home, because it's so important, obviously, right?
It is,
So here's a question for you, right? I'm gathering, and I know that you've become a better husband and a better father, and some of that has been, been derived or gained from your experience in Power 7. It's only a piece of the jigsaw, right? How would your wife describe you? You weren't expecting that one.
Turn off the camera. I'm only joking, G. I think she described me as funny. And then annoying. I'd say annoying, because I can be funny, annoying. I'd say, I think she'd say caring and loving, and that's always there. I would like to think that she would say that about me, and I know she would say best friend. I know she'd say that, and I would say the exact same about her best friend.
Nice one. How would your kids describe you as a dad?
It all depends which one.
Okay. Well, let's take the oldest one, Luke, then. How would Luke describe you?
I know. I think Luke could describe me as, he'd say Dad is, I think he'd like, it's a tricky one with Luke. I would say he'd say that you are, it could be, you're great. You're always there. I'd hope. I think he could say, you're an ass. You're an ass.
You're annoying.
You're annoying. Yeah. I think he could say every now and again, shut up. And then I think all three of them would say that he's good fun and good crack, and he's always there. I think they'd always say that about me. I'd hope so anyway. And then I think, I'd say my middleman Harry would say, Dad, you need to shut up a bit, and I'd say that's the pontificating part. I can't help myself sometimes, and I'm work in progress. And I think Izzy would always, Izzy's my youngest. I think she'd say, you're great. I can't say anything about
She's your pet.
Yeah, she's my pet, So.
Well, I have a little surprise for you, Diarmuid.
Yeah.
Because I asked them
how
they would describe
you.
Yeah. Well, I asked Deirdre and I asked Luke.
Okay.
Would you like to hear?
Oh, I'd love to hear. Yeah.
Well, I'll start with Deirdre.
Yeah.
When I met Diarmuid, he was the most handsome, wild person I had ever met. He always made me laugh, which I now know is one of the best traits to have. I knew he was always going to be successful, but his biggest success is what we as a couple have created, a family we love and enjoy being with. He's my best friend. We still love and like each other, even on the grumpy days, ! And she just said, I hope that's not too cheesy. So that's what she said.
God, that's
so you were pretty on the money there.
Okay.
Luke then said a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
He said, growing up in the Gavin household is a unique experience, to say the least. And Dad is the driving force behind it all.
Oh, God.
From question time on the way to school or at the dinner table, even when we have friends or a girl over, to Saturdays spent picking weeds. See a weed, pick a weed. I can imagine that, all right. Or building some sort of contraption out in the garage. Everything is shaped by Dad and the character he is. At the time, we might not always appreciate it, but there's a meaning behind every one of those small activities he puts in place for us. He has a way of knowing what each of us needs. He is Harry out on the island at home counting coins and doing some small maths problems because he knows that's his strength. And just as importantly, it keeps him out of trouble. It's a dig. Looking back, these moments are not just random jobs or little routines. They are Dad's way of teaching us, guiding us, and spending time with us in a way he knows best. They are a big part of what makes our childhood what it is, and a big part of who we are today. Some of our favourite memories with him are the many trips we take to Italy over the years, to places like Montepulciano, Rome and Penza. Everything is always an adventure for him. He loves the mystery of exploring new places and what makes it so much more exciting for us whenever we go on holidays. We get to experience so much culture growing up. And we think that really stays with us as we go out into the world. To us, he's not just a parent. He's a role model, a supporter, and someone we know we can always rely on, even at 4 a.m. when the car is in the ditch. Story there. His influence helps us become the people that we are today. Mm-hmm. Dad, thank you for everything you do and continue to do. We hope you know how much you mean to us and how grateful we are to be your children.
Oh, my God. That's unbelievable. That is unbelievable.
None of that surprises me, Diarmuid, because, I've admired you over the years, for, what effort you put into your family. One of the reasons, I wanted to have this conversation with you is because, I see you as a role model Power 7 member. Mm-hmm. It starts with the attitude that you brought from day one. I'm going to get from this, I'm going to give to this, maybe give to this first. I'm going to learn here. I'm hungry to learn about myself, the humility to, that I don't know it all. There's more I can learn about myself and other people and so on. And then, I would have heard over the years, how much you've brought home, like you say, mm-hmm. The output of your retreats or plans or, little frameworks and mm-hmm. different things and indeed have brought into work. And, and I would have known from the stories over the years how rich of a family environment that you've created. You've all created, you've all, mm-hmm. All done it. But there is a leadership there, that I think both Deirdre and Luke refer to there, that, you do lead these things. And and it's just like, it's lovely to hear that. But as I say, it's no surprise because, I would know that they think the world of you because, you got such a healthy home situation, mm-hmm. Because you've attended to it and you've done the work, so just wanted to kind of say
God.
that.
That was immense, Barry. Thank you very much. Thank you, Team Gavin.
Yeah. You can thank them when you get home.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, it's nice to hear that. Well, and it's nice to hear that it's that the journey of the Power of Seven. Well, and definitely, that's the that's the fruits there.
That's the fruits there, and then we probably need another podcast to talk about the now and the future, but we do have a few minutes left. I mean, just to talk about being general manager of Théa Pharma, and I think it's a fantastic story in terms of so that got born out of a joint venture that Amex, Tom's company, and Théa did, with the goal from the very beginning for Théa then to Ireland to come out of that. Yeah. And you got offered the job to become general manager of that.
Yeah. So
do you want to just tell us about, what you started with and what you've got now, and just maybe then briefly about your kind of aspirations for the future?
Sure. Yeah. So 2017, Théa approached me and basically said, listen, we'd like to run a joint venture. Is it something you'd be interested in leading? It meant that I was going to have to leave Pamex Limited. And so we had meetings in Dublin, talked to Tom, ended up saying, this is going to be worthwhile, particularly, for both sides. So made the decision that I'd leave Pamex, and we set up Théa Pamex. Little office right next door to the Pamex office, cables going over the ceiling into the desks of my previous team in Pamex, and the joint venture was born on the 1st of February 2018, and so took some of our key players who were in ophthalmology. We had already represented the brand in Pamex Limited, and we'd grown a small base of sales at that time. 3 key players came over with me, so there was 4 of us that moved across, and then hired 4 more. So that was the start of the joint venture. Coming off a very low sales base, we grew the business exponentially over the next number of years. I think 80% growth on year 1, and right through growth right through to where we are now, which is really strong. So we've grew the joint venture from 2018 to 2022, and then at that time we'd hit the thresholds and the milestones that we needed to hit to satisfy the conditions of the joint venture, and we did that during COVID as well, which was tricky. So we were not allowed to go out and sell for a number of months at that time, and so came through the joint venture and celebrated that with Tom and the team, but then became Théa Pharma Ireland, a fully blown affiliate of the global company Théa. So Théa is still privately owned, as I mentioned. Jean-Frédéric is the president of that business. He's married to Norma Quirk from Tipperary, so he's well engaged with Tipperary hurling, Munster rugby, and he's a Clermont-Ferrand fan, of course. That's where HQ is, and a little bit of Mayo football every now and again. He's a very nice guy, really great leader, and with a great leadership team. So that business, the global business, we're just one of the affiliates. It grew from maybe 30 countries in 2018 to 75 countries now. So gone from sales of 100 million up to just over $1 billion now. Yeah, and aiming for $2 billion in the next number of years. So we're a big part of that growth plan. Our Irish team, we now have a team of 20, and that's a large number for a company dedicated to ophthalmology. Right. Just to give you some context, other companies might have 4 or 5, in the sales and marketing division, but we have up to 20 people, and all based in Castlebar. So just launched a brand new medicine for dry eye, and we have a hot pipeline for the next number of years. So our ambitions are to grow the business in line with that $2 billion that the global company is going to take in, and we're well on the way to doing that. The biggest thing about Théa for me in Ireland is the culture. We have, I've really nourished and fed that culture, and that has worked. That has worked in our favor. I find it, it's a great attraction for others to come and work with us, and then it's a great retainer if your culture is right. So we spend a lot of time working on that. We have yearly themes that drive our business. We've come from Challenge, which was to cycle from Dublin down to Castlebar. The whole team did that at one stage, raising 20,000 for fighting blindness. And this year our theme is optimized. We're at that stage now where we need to trim some of our activities, make sure that we're doing the right ones and that they're going to yield the results that we want. So we're in the year of optimization, and everybody understands that. And one thing that we do well is we really work hard. We have a lovely rhythm to the business, between our sales meeting, our weekly powwows, our Friday teleconferences, and education is the core of what we do. So we bring in, as I was mentioning, high quality speakers. We do small events in pharmacies, in optometry practices, but also in all of the hospitals all around Ireland. So that's our core driver of our business, and we're true to that. Preservative-free and innovation, lots of new innovative products. Some of our OTC or over-the-counter products would have highly patented products. So our bottles alone, they're on their 7th patency now at this stage. So lots of innovation, lots of excitement, and there's a lot of growth. And keeping up with that at times can be the tricky part. But I aim to do that on a daily basis by having fun. And so it's one of the things I bring into the office every morning. It's what fun are we going to have today? And we do. And we have a lot of fun. We get the work done and we have laughs. And that's really important.
It's like another family, isn't it?
Like another family, yeah. We bring the Power of 7, the structure of the family, and then the business. I bring that to them all. One of my greatest, memories, I asked, does anybody want to share, from the group, like, how did the year go? And what was it? And mostly, you talk about the work-life balance, but we see it like this, which is like, it's the same person that comes into the business that goes in the door from home. So you're always that one. And one of the nicest things I heard from one of the team was, this year was great because I've become a better dad. And that came from one of the team, and he basically said that this is something that I worked on, and that came from the little exercise of setting, reflections, looking back at last year, what was good, and where do I need to improve, and setting his priorities, and that was one of the nicest things. So it shows you that he had a very successful year in the business.
No coincidence.
No coincidence. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Like there's some values that I hear coming out, throughout our conversation. So obviously, adventure is a big one. Fun is another one. But it just kind of maybe leads me to maybe where we could finish up, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
When we started talking, I mentioned about the clarity retreat and the walk of life. And one of the questions that we tried to answer in that walk of life is, what's the thread that runs through all those different events and people and experiences that shaped you?
Yeah.
But I remember you basically identifying your purpose. Would you just tell us what that thread was and how did that feed into the purpose that you found? And I say found as opposed to created. It was already there.
Yeah. So it was the Cliffs of Moher. That's where I was. So we had our poncho. You had your
vision quest.
Yeah, the vision quest. Yeah, you had your poncho, your banana, your bottle of water, and your cushion to sit on. And we had, I think it was an hour and a half to 2 hours to sit down and reflect and see, what it is that you want to think about it, or where your world is now and where you want it to be. And I remember sitting with my back to a wall, and I could see the cliffs in front of me, and they were shaped like a V, like that. And from there, I kind of started to imagine that I was sitting in the middle of it, and so it became a diamond. as when I went back to put it down on paper, to paint my future. That diamond was four sides, and that was, everybody in that was Deirdre, Luke, Harry, and Isabel. And I saw myself in the center of it, with the big heart. At any time, any one of those people could need support, including myself, so that we need to have a kind of a support network of us together.
Okay.
So that was the central part. But the diamond represented, strength, and, that it needed to be, constructed really well, and that we were going to be hard to break. And that's where I kind of found myself there. But along that journey then of thought brought me to, you asked us to think about, like, how does the future look? And I could see a lot of brightness, because at the moment, sitting down on the sun did start to break through, and that kind of was calling me towards the future of a bright future. When I looked back at my diamond and looked at myself sitting there, it was to be there. So being there is what matters to me, for the kids, for Dee, for the team as well, and for others. And, just to be there. And being there is kind of, it's about your ability to listen and to understand, and probably to make the effort. And sometimes I probably am guilty of not having done that in the past, to make that small journey, make that phone call, make that whatever it is, and I think that's something that can work on forever.
Yeah.
But also on that picture came, a couple of other things. I remember BTG and BTT. Okay. So it was around my the 7 at home, growing up, and it was to do with Mayo football.
Oh,
so
Lord,
it had to come in. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we can cut this.
Yeah, cut this out if you want. Yeah, but it was about being the glue and book the table, and it's tried to use the trips to Dublin and to try to get together a little bit more and try to organise that. That has served me, but I think I can do better there as well. And then finally, the other part of that picture was the hot air balloon with a big A on it, and it was myself and Deirdre in that balloon, and we were basically, on the adventure of life, and wherever that brings us over the next number of years, I'm not so sure. But I know it's going to be an adventure.
Yeah,
and it's to just to keep us part of us. Keep that A as part of who we are.
So being there is what it is to be Diarmuid Gavin.
Yeah,
being there. Well, Diarmuid, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Barry.
It was really nice chatting to you.
No, thanks. Thanks a million. Great to be here, and thanks for having me.